I mean, I've seen young lads like yourself, fresh out of college. You start 18 months later, you got 6 trucks. And guys will say, well, if you're closing 90%, you're too low. No, because the production of the sale is that good.
What's up, guys? I'm here with Ron Musgraves. Ron has been in the pressure washing industry longer than I've been alive, for about 37, 38 years, right?
38 years now. Yeah.
38 years, wow. And he's been a huge help to many people throughout his journey through his educational platforms and content. So, Ron, it's a pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here, man. It's always awesome when we can do stuff, especially with younger guys. I don't know if you know this. I got a thing called Young Guns, and we do a seminar once a year.
Mhm.
Everybody's under 30 years old. You can't be over 30 years old to be involved in it.
Really?
How old are you?
I'm 23.
See, you meet the criteria, man.
It's
There you
awesome. I got to be at the next one.
go.
Well, first off, if you don't mind, I'd love to learn a bit more about your story and how you got started in the industry to where you're kind of at now.
It's a pretty boring story, but I'm going to shorten it up for you. I was I've never had a job. I was in college. I was watching automatic sprinklers. Basically, that was my job. I watched
Mhm.
automatic sprinklers go on and off, and a guy dispatcher, because we had radios on campus, and dispatcher called me over and says, "Hey, man, go over to this janitor closet and grab the squeegee and the mop and all that stuff out of the closet." It's kind of a funny story to that because the guy's name was Mo and he was about 6'8", and he was a big dude. And as soon as you open the door, he says, "If you touch my stuff, I'll kill you." So Bobby talked me into grabbing this stuff anyways, and I grabbed it. We rode a golf cart over to a shopping center, and we proceeded to clean windows. He was going in, the little. You guys don't remember this, but they used to be carbon paper when you wrote a receipt out, and you had to have a piece of carbon
Mhm.
paper to copy
Okay.
the receipt, and you tore it off and you gave it to them. And merchants would pay you right out of the register because, believe this or not, back then, Bank of America, which is now Visa, was just being created. You know what I mean? It was just, people were just starting to use credit cards. So everything was cash. It was all a cash mentality. And he was going inside, writing them a receipt. We were washing the windows. First time I ever, mopped up a window in my entire life. And what I didn't know is that at the end of the day, this lady comes storming out. He says, "Skip this gift store," and this lady comes storming out of the gift store, going, "Hey, hey!" And we're way down at the other end of the center, and she's hollering. Well, unbeknownst to me, I turn around. Bobby's gone. The guy, he's out of there, And this lady comes running down the sidewalk. And she says, "Hey, you missed me! You missed me! Are you going to come back and get my store?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah, we'll get your store. We'll get your store. Just calm down. We'll get your store." She says, "I want it every 2 weeks. I don't want you guys to miss it ever again. I want you to come every 2 weeks, and I want you to make sure you don't miss me, blah, 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 blah." And so I proceed to try to finish up washing the windows we had started. I didn't have the book to go in and collect. I didn't even know what we were charging. I got all my stuff back together, and I go ahead and go back over to the student union, and I said, dispatch officer says, "Bobby, what's going on?" He says, "What happened? What happened? Did that lady call the police?" I said, "Call the police. She wants service every other week, basically twice a month." He goes, "What?" He goes, I go, "Yeah." I go, what did you do, man?" I said, "Where's my money?" Because I saw him collecting all the cash.
Mhm.
And we made about $260 in like maybe an hour and a half. And so he goes, "You didn't know what we were doing? You didn't know what I said, "We were washing windows, Bobby. What are you talking about?" He says, "No, man, we were hustling. None of those people are our customers." So he was just hustling. He was New York, Italian guy from New York. And I go, "Well, guess we got our first regular customer." And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "That's unbelievable. She told me she'd call the police and have me arrested if she ever saw me on the property again." I said, "Oh, so you had a run-in with her because you were basically hustling her." He says, "Well, I guess now she wants us to do her windows on a regular basis. So are we going to go back there and do the windows?" He wouldn't do the windows. Well, lo and behold, that was my first maintenance customer, and she was on every 2 weeks, and a bunch of the other tenants in there jumped on board. And I soon realized that I was making more money in a few hours than I could ever do at working a job. And so a job was never in my destiny. I started washing windows. Windows led to washing sidewalks, and here we are 38 years later.
Wow. So you say it's a boring story, but honestly, that's actually a pretty unique and funny story. Your first customer, you guys didn't even understand what was going on. You just did the job, and then you basically.
Well, you want to know what that taught me? When I was building the route, and a lot of guys know this, and there's guys out there go, I won't do anything for free. I will wash anybody for free one time. Anybody. It doesn't matter. Matter of fact, my sales staff had during the week, they had to give away 2 free jobs every week. Okay. So we gave 10 free jobs away every week. And people would go, you're out of your mind. I can't tell you how many 10 free jobs turned into, maintenance accounts and regular clients. And a lot of times even bigger clients, you wind up, wind up through channels, you wind up with a whale out of giving somebody a, $200-300 service for free. People don't realize that anything that's going to have a repeat business, anything on it, acquisition costs are just doing it one time. Like I'm going to give you guys, I'll give you an example of mastery of sales, right? We always hear this, sales mastery. What is sales mastery? Does anybody know? Is there a definition out there? I'll tell you what sales mastery is. Sales mastery is cutting your visit from 8 with a client down to 1 or 2 times in order to close them. Most people, most experts out there say we're going to have to touch somebody 8 to 9 times. Okay. Well, what you do by giving them the service, there's no more bullshit, is there? You've given them a service. Here it is. You either now want to buy my service or you don't want to buy my service. I don't have to come back and see you again. I don't have to talk to you again. It's either here it is. Would you like to now be on regular service or would you not? So you've cut all that cost of returning to the client down to basically either 1 visit or 2 visits, but you're not going back a 3rd time because you've already given them a service. They know what you have to offer. They either want it or they don't. And people don't realize that going back 8 times on an average client, it's going to cost you more money to send that salesperson back 8 times to visit them than it is to just say, okay, we did the service now. Would you like to be on regular service? Yes or no. It's that simple. And truthfully, when you qualify somebody for a free service, 90% of the time you're going to close them. And guys will say, well, if you're closing 90%, you're too low. No, because the production of the sale is that good. And people don't realize that you can sell anything and have a high retention of getting the job as long as the pitch is good. And there's nothing better. Think about this in a sense, right? You somewhere, and you're a pretty young guy, but you can go ask your mom when you get off this call or your aunt, somewhere in your family lineage, there is a Kirby vacuum cleaner. Somebody bought a Kirby. It's in your bloodline, guaranteed. I've never not met anyone that it's not. Now, why did that work? Because Kirby had a very good demonstration program when they sold that vacuum cleaner, and it works. And that's why we literally have somebody, Aunt B, Aunt Betty, your mother, whoever it is, somebody bought a vacuum cleaner from Kirby. Are you thinking now who that was in your family?
Probably my mom or my dad. I'm
You're not
somewhat
sure.
familiar with the whole story with Kirby. I don't know too much about it, but basically they had just such an amazing demonstration.
If it wasn't your, and think about that. So when you give somebody a free service that's going to be a repeat customer, somebody that's going to use your service every week, that's all you're giving them is a demonstration. That's all it is. You demoing, except I'm willing to go a little bit further because I'm a little more crazy than most, and I'm going to give them a free complete service. I'm going to show them what cleaning their sidewalks really looks like. Because in our industry, and you say things, you wanted to talk about change. In our industry, things have changed, and not necessarily for the better, I would say. On some aspects, when we start talking about technology, and I'm sure you're going to get me that going that direction, there's many things that have changed. But about the brass tacks of somebody actually cleaning a sidewalk, actually knowing the science of it, knowing how to do it properly, knowing how not to damage it, knowing that if you can, we always said that, when we get done with your sidewalk, I'll eat off of it. It'll be that clean. I'll eat off of it if you want me to. And Now guys have all these different levels. They're like, okay, we're going to not get your gum. We're going to get some of your gum. We're going to get a little bit of your gum. We're not going to touch any gum. I mean, what do you think these people are hiring us for? They're hiring us to clean the sidewalk. I don't have multiple levels of clean. I have one clean. I'll eat off of it when I'm done. That means we're going to clean everything. And I think some of the bad things in our industry is that it's gone so rogue now that people they actually believe that there are these levels of clean that they're selling. And I'm not talking about packages. I'm talking about people out there just thinking that, well, they're not willing to pay me the right amount of money. I will do half the job for them. Could you imagine going into the auto mechanic and, he says, well, they only paid us the special. We're only going to fix half their brakes. The other half of the brakes aren't going to work. It's an absurd thing, but that's the mentality of some of these, I don't want to say young people, because there's plenty of old people doing it wrong too, but I would say new entrepreneurs, whether they're old or whether they're young, they believe sometimes that there should be different levels, and there shouldn't be. Come on, when you clean your dishes, there's a little spaghetti on there. Go ahead, put them away. We'll worry about it tomorrow. Well, next time we wash them, maybe we'll get that off. You're not gonna serve somebody a dinner with some old spaghetti sauce from 3 nights ago on it. And when you put it in that context, it really makes sense, right? That there really shouldn't be different levels of clean, but there are.
Yeah. And if you actually cared about helping people and providing a service, you would want to go out and clean the whole thing. I'm a big proponent on packages and doing multiple price points, because you get a higher average ticket, you get more closes. But even if someone goes for that lower ticket, like, just go out and provide more value than they're paying.
Well, I will do this. I'm not opposed to not cleaning an entire place. If people don't have enough money in the budget, but they want things clean, let's clean the important things the right way. And we'll worry about the things that aren't important, and we won't clean them necessarily today. But when you get the money, we'll get them clean the right way. But yeah, I'm not going to go out and clean something. Let's just get half-ass. I'm not going to do something half-ass because my name's on that. You know what I mean? And I don't want to do that, because that's not how you build a strong company with good clients. Just not how you do it.
Exactly. Over deliver, and they'll go with you every single time.
Every single time.
Exactly. So I guess we can get into the future of the industry in a little bit. Before we dive into that, I'm curious, you said you had a few sales teams. You had these different kind of goals for each team. Would you mind kind of running me through what the dynamic behind your business looks like?
Yeah, you if you're going to have a sales team and if you have a salesperson, it's a completely different thing than having a sales team. Salesmen are highly competitive, whether they're male or female. They're lazy. So you have to give people a structure. Okay. And I'll put this to something a little bit similar. Okay. So I hate car salesmen, but I'll use the car salesman analogy because most of us have bought a new car. If you haven't, you're going to buy one soon, probably. Reality is the car buying experience is a horrible experience. If most people go in there and they don't look forward to it. No one says, I want to go buy a new car. I'm excited about it, but I know that the experience is going to suck. Okay. Yeah. So nothing to do with the experience of car salespeople, but car salespeople don't market. They're salesmen. Okay. They're not advertisers either. Okay. So people get lost with what sales, advertising, and marketing really is. And this is kind of an easy way to break it down. So when you have a sales team, okay, and I always tell people this, salespeople don't stuff envelopes. That's not their job. If it's an outside sales program, they shouldn't be inside chasing the office girls around. They should be outside selling. Okay. But when we go back to the dealership, what do we remember about a dealership? How do they get their clients into the salespeople? Well, there's various ways. A hot dog stand got me in one time, free hot dogs. I drove right in. I got a free hot dog. Sooner that afternoon, I left with I don't know, at that time, like a $50,000 SUV. Okay. Did the hot dog get me in there? Yeah. I went in there to only get a hot dog. I wound up buying a $50,000 SUV. Same thing with, they take pictures of Santa at the dealership. You bring your kids down, they got a better thing than the mall's got. They give you a professional photo with Santa. I mean, Cabela's does that too, right? Cabela's, they
Yeah.
do it where they have it, and it's a marketing tactic. It's to get you in the door. Well, you as an owner have to have a program for these salespeople, because if you wind up, lots of people think they're going to turn their salesperson into the marketing guy, the advertising guy. He's not that guy. He's the sales guy. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to go close people. Okay. And that's what he's supposed to do, build relationships and close people. And people get confused at what their job is. And they hire this guy as a salesman. And I told you at the beginning, he's lazy, but they're highly competitive. But if you tell a sales guy to go out and create their own leads, it usually doesn't work out, because they can't do that. One, they're lazy. Two, they don't know how, because they've worked in an environment like a dealership that funneled people into them. And so you not only have to have a sales team, you have to have a marketing team behind them, and you have to have some advertising, and you have to be able to bring them leads. Okay. Fortunately, we're going to talk about this because the industry has changed dramatically in the way that happens. You know, when I started, you had yellow pages, you use fax machines. We had teledex index cards that you'd give, instead of a business card, you'd give them a teledex card, because they would put it in this thing called a Rolodex, which you probably saw at a museum when you visited last time. It's these big old things that used to sit on people's desks, and that was where they kept all their telephone numbers, because we didn't have digital technology and phones. So, you know, has that all changed? Absolutely. You know, now we have V cards. Now, you know, anybody that's carrying, I'm not against carrying around a business card. I don't carry one. I would much rather exchange a virtual card with somebody than I've got their definite contact information. You know what I mean? That's just a better way of doing business. Of course, I have a business card, but I will try not to use it. If somebody hands me a business card, I scan it and I give it back to them. You know, boom, here's your business card back. I've got it. I don't need to, I don't need your business card. It's just, those are some of the things that, like, people get confused when they talk about a sales team. You have to have a structured program around your salesman or sales team. You have to have some kind of a program for them to hold them accountable. Because if you take a salesperson and turn them rogue, trust me, they will fail. They will fail.
Yeah. A lot of the guys are under the impression that if they find an amazing salesperson, hire them, they're going to change their business, when in reality, if you don't have a good sales process in place, a good training program, they're going to come in and be clueless to chicken without a head and have no idea what to do, really. So you need to have all of that in place. And ideally, you should have been doing that yourself, so you actually know what to look for when hiring a sales rep. But you need to have all that in place before you even start the hiring process.
But nobody documents it.
Yeah, that's a big flaw nowadays. Yeah,
it is. It's terrible that nobody documents it.
Yeah. When we bring on a new sales rep, typically we'll do it either, if it's in person, we'll film ourselves. If it's on like Zoom or something, we'll record the call, but we'll record the whole sales training, put it into a course. And then for future hires, we have all of that content available for them to watch on their own time. And then obviously you still want to do one-on-one training, but that makes it way easier to onboard new hires and just make the process a lot easier on them.
Do you know, I always tell people to build systems. You see what that says?
Notes.
Get a damn notebook and just write down everything you do for as long as you possibly can do it. It might be a month, but I'm talking about, buy one of these brand new, start on page 1, and just literally day by day, you write down everything you do. I mean, if you go to the bathroom, you write it down. That's how ridiculous it needs to be. Then after a month, 6 weeks, this is a complete journal. This is where you start putting the systems together in your business. And not only, if you are a young business that has employees, but you don't have any systems and you're pulling your hair out, have everybody in your organization do this for 1 month. And if they don't want to do it on a notebook, we all know we have what? The trusted noted phone. And it's always good to cloud that note or share that note with all the employees. And that way you've got here we go. Our first accountability measure in a system, right? We've got an accountability that Jimmy is actually doing what we asked him to do, right? Because we all know when you ask employees to do stuff, do they do it? No, they don't do it. So if you have it clouded and you can see that every day they're writing in their journal, we have an accountability structure. Therefore, you've already got your first system in play. You know, I always say systems without accountability are useless. They're useless because we can write a manual that's this thick, but do you think anybody's going to read it?
Nope.
Nobody's going to read it. Only person that read it was the person that created it and probably went over and did the rough draft. So you have two people that read it, the person that created it and the person that edited it. And that's probably where your employee manual that's where it'll finish and be done.
Yeah, that's insane. We definitely never went to that extent in terms of noting everything. And when building out SOPs, systems and processes, whatever we're doing, we'll jot it down. We'll create a system and process out of it, but to literally journal every single thing you're doing, which makes a lot of sense, by the way.
How many systems and processes though did you find out you spent more time creating them and then there was no action taken on them? Because all too often we as business people don't think about the accountability measure behind a system. And let me explain for the audience here something. We'll go back to something that they can relate. We've all walked into that restroom, the public restroom. We've seen on the back door, there's a thing on there where an employee comes in and signs off, he cleans it. We've all seen the employee come in the door, look around, look left, look right in the restroom and go and walk right back out the door. He didn't check the toilets. He didn't check anything. There's paper all over the place. He did nothing. Why? Because there's not a manager coming in and signing after him that he actually did his job. Now, when you see that where the employee signs it and the manager signs it, that's an accountability measure on a system. Therefore, when the employee comes in there, he knows the manager's coming in 5 minutes after he allegedly was supposed to sign off and clean his thing. He knows the manager's going to come in and take a look. Therefore, he's going to go in and check the stalls, make sure the garbage is empty, make sure there's paper towels, make sure there's toilet paper. He's going to actually do his job if he cares about his job. And then the manager comes in and obviously looks around, signs off. Oh, Jimmy did his job. What a great deal this was. Fantastic. Everything's peachy king. But if you don't have that type of accountability in any type of system that you build, it's not a system. It won't work.
Yeah, that's an amazing point. You can build out the best systems process in the world, but if you're not actually even checking if they're actually doing it, then for all you know, they're not doing a single thing that you spend hours, days working on. Something else I did want to dive into, I know we only have a few minutes left. I was curious if you wouldn't mind telling me a bit more about the UAMCC. I know a lot of the people watching today have probably heard of it, but not too sure what it is as well. So I'd love to learn more about that.
It is the United Association of Mobile Contract Cleaners. It's a non-profit industry organization, tax exempt. It's people will go, no, Ron, you run it. Yes, I do run it, but it's because it's a tax exempt nonprofit. Every member has a voting share in the organization, and it's a total contractor organization. It's not run by vendors or manufacturers. It's run by contractors. And there's a board of directors, and you can go to umcc.org and see who the directors are. And quite a few of them are going to be at the up and coming Panhandle event that we're having in Florida. And all the events are free. Everything's free at all the events.
Were you a part of creating and forming it, or did you kind of come in at a later time?
At the original onset, it was created as a profit corporation by a man named Robert Hindeleiter over there at powerwash.com in, I think they're located in Fort Worth, Texas. I want to DFW, but they're in that DFW area. Mm-hmm. And I think in 2006, my dates may be wrong, it was a for-profit corporation, and a man named Carlos Gonzalez. I don't know if you know Carlos, we call him Mr. EBC. He owns Enviro Bio Cleaner. He was a contractor at the time, and in 2008 he took it and they started making it into a tax exempt nonprofit corporation, which is what it is today. And since 2000, March of 2009, it was officially domiciled in California as a nonprofit association, and it's been there ever since, and it's still running today officially. I think we could say the nonprofit's been around about 13, 14 years. It's been around longer as a corporation, but I don't consider, when it was a profit corporation, I don't consider it being the same thing. Wasn't, nonprofits and profits are a different thing. Our whole goal in the industry is just through safety and environmental. That's all it is. That's all the organization exists for. It's its main goal is make sure guys don't wind up out there killing themselves, and other guys are being good stewards to the environment. And that's basically what the org was created for.
Okay. And yeah, that's a great message, because a lot of people jump into it without too much experience. They go out, kill some plants, they get hurt, and they get all types of issues because they didn't do the proper research. So having an organization like yourself being able to come and educate them, it's a blessing to a lot of people.
Absolutely, man. As like I was saying earlier in the interview, I love, when younger people in this industry really dig in and get involved. A lot of the guys that have been in the industry a long time get frustrated with guys in the industry, especially younger kids, because you guys are really embracing the technology and using it to its full ability, where a lot of these guys, they build businesses that are solid over the years, and they don't need to use the technology. But this is a message that I hope you leave this message in the audio here, or in this today, is, guys, what it took, when you say the biggest, we didn't talk about the biggest change in the industry. What took me to build my organization took years and years of hard work, beating the pavement, doing it the old fashioned way, where now technology makes it capable. I mean, I've seen young lads like yourself, fresh out of college, you start 18 months later, you got 6 trucks. It took guys to get 6 trucks 10, 15 years back 30 years ago. Now, with the technology the way it is, somebody can jump in this business and fully scale it, and they can scale it. It's unlimited. It really is. It's unlimited to what people want to do. And I don't think guys my age are realizing that. And I'm not even positive the young people, except the ones that do it, understand that they can't. I think that they're always told that they can't do it. I've seen these guys out there. There's a guy in California. I don't know if you know Connor Eubanks. He's doing like $8 million right now. $8 million. It's crazy. You know what I mean? And you see these guys, and they're under 30 years old, and they're doing this. I've got a kid right here in Phoenix that I believe he's about 27 or 28, did $80 million. So that's just, those are insane numbers. Insane.
Yeah, I think one of the key points of what you just said, one of the biggest determinants of whether someone's going to be successful or not, what's kind of holding them back, is the limited beliefs they put on themselves, that I can't have that. I can't make a few million per year. They got lucky, whatever happened, I can't do that. When in reality, anyone can do it. You have to put in a lot of work. It's not easy, but literally anyone can do it if you actually.
Oh, it's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy. It takes time and it takes money. You have to make an investment, and you can't be scared. I think a lot of people get scared. I mean, and that's what holds everybody back, right? Fear of putting, your neck out there and somebody taking it off. I mean, and people just want to be complacent. I think here's another nugget for a lot of people. I think when people find success, and they're making decent money, maybe more money than they've ever made in their life, they go out and buy a boat or a motor home or do something instead of putting that money back into their business and replicating and repeating the processes so they can make it larger. They strangle their businesses by doing that. You know what I mean? And I don't care what any of these guys say, debt is no good. Okay. If you can do things without debt, it's the best way to do it. Of course, if you can't get it done without getting debt, debt's not bad. That I don't want to say debt's bad either, but if you can get it done and not create a lot of debt, do it that way. But if you got to create debt, then you better be ready to go for it and don't buy that boat. Better put everything you got back into that business until you can make it debt free. You know, because there's a lot of time to buy toys. Lots of times to buy toys. Believe me, I've had a
Yeah.
lot of time over the last 35, 40 years.
Yeah, I tell people this all the time. And a lot of people don't want to hear it, but it's the truth. Spend just a few years living below your means. Try to keep your living costs low. Eat shit for a few years. Sucks. People don't want to hear it, but it's true. You do it. And after a few years, you'll probably have more money saved up than you've ever had before. You probably build a business you didn't even think was possible. Whereas if you did not do that, it might take you 4, 5, 6 times as long to do that just because
Yeah,
you're spending more than you need to.
it's true. It's an amazingly true story. If you do that, you'll reap the benefits, and you'll probably never ever do that again, anyways. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because once you change that mindset and you've done something, which old cliche for 30 days, and you continue to follow that process, you'll continue to follow it. And plus, life's just going to be a whole heck of a lot easier to live when you don't convince yourself that I need to eat steak every night. I need to have lobster every night.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that, right? I mean, it's just not it's not healthy to live always on that edge and chasing Peter to pay Paul type mentality because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. No fun at all.
Yeah. And eventually what's hard becomes a normal. And then once you are in the place where you can, splurge a little bit, then, you just appreciate that much more.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you having me on, man.